Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to cover how you can transition your career from a traditional IT role to a role in cloud computing. I'm Trevor, a cloud solutions architect, currently working at AWS with more than 10 years of experience working in traditional IT environments, and I transitioned to cloud computing full-time earlier this year. So if you're a network engineer or a sysadmin or an IT manager, you're working the help desk, or you use some sort of traditional technology role today, and you want to make that step into cloud computing, this is the video for you. First, I'm going to walk through two strategies for how you can make this switch and get your career kickstarted in cloud computing. And then I'm going to walk you through some very specific actions that you should take if you're serious about migrating your career to the cloud. Let's get into it. First off, the good news about a transition from an IT career into a career in cloud is that you have an unfair advantage. A lot of people are trying to get into cloud computing with no previous experience right now. Those people are competing with folks like you who already have some technology competency, maybe some technical skills, and just some broader industry and business knowledge. That's gonna make this transition a lot easier for you. There's two main paths that I see people taking when they transition from IT roles into cloud roles. They either move straight into cloud computing with no previous cloud experience, or they take a hybrid path where they take a role that's somewhere in the middle and then eventually transition full on into cloud computing. Which path somebody takes is not fully in their control. There's a little bit of luck involved based on timing and what opportunities are available, but you should be aware of both paths so that way you can keep track of different opportunities and make moves that will get you closer to your goal of being a cloud practitioner. First, let's talk about the hybrid path. When you take the hybrid path, what you would generally do is take a role where you're still doing what you do today, but then integrating a little bit of cloud. For example, maybe I'm a network engineer who's working mostly on on-premises networks, but I transitioned to a job where maybe I'm also configuring direct connects into the cloud and VPNs into the cloud and doing some basic routing in the cloud. You can apply that same idea to other roles like sysadmin and help desk. A lot of people would take this path because frankly, it's easier to convince somebody to give you a role doing something that you already have proven experience doing, and then convincing somebody to give you a little bit of additional responsibility with that cloud work is not so difficult. Now, this hybrid role strategy is not a stepping stone approach. You don't need to take a step back in your career to find a role where you start to get exposed to cloud technologies. So I wouldn't encourage you to take like a pay cut or step down. You can accomplish this by simply moving laterally into a different role or maybe a different team, or getting involved in different projects in your current role while still getting that initial cloud exposure. The other path that some people take would be a hard switch from an on-premise type of role into a cloud role. This is a more difficult path because you're going to have to convince a manager that you can do a full-time cloud computing job having never done it before. This is the ideal path, obviously, because you skip that hybrid middle step and you jump straight into learning cloud every single day. But these opportunities may be more limited. So what path you choose is going to be informed more by the opportunities that are available. And that's not always something that you can control. To summarize, you just got to find an opportunity to start getting hands-on working in cloud environments. Now the fun part. Let's talk about some specific things that you can start doing today to set yourself up for a transition into cloud computing. You need to learn, you need to build, and you need to work on your brand. All three of these things are important. You need to be learning, building, and working on your brand simultaneously. First, let's focus on the steps you can take to just start learning. Lucky for you, in the decade of 2020, learning cloud computing is easier than it's ever been, ever. To get started learning the cloud, I would suggest go ahead and commit to getting a certification. I recommend the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate as a starting point if you already have a technical background. Of course, if you're at a company or in an area where you think there's more opportunity in Azure or GCP, go with their equivalent. But if you're not sure, just pick AWS. There's still the most job opportunity working in AWS environments. I have a video about how you can study for that specific cert. Check it out if you're looking for some good study resources and a study plan to make that happen for yourself. I think if you're going to take the time to learn it, you may as well get a credential out of it. In parallel to your learning path, you need to start building. When I say building, I mean get hands-on in a specific cloud provider. Don't get hands-on with all three simultaneously. Get hands-on with one so you're not just learning how to deploy a VM in 3 different consoles. Focusing on one for now is going to help you accelerate your learning and not just repeat the same lessons over and over again with slight variations. You're transitioning to cloud computing from IT. So you're no longer working on an assembly line where you just focus on one piece of the puzzle like you would in a traditional IT world. You are now an artist. You're a builder. You have a blank canvas of cloud services where you can build just about anything you want. So if something sparks your interest, like I want to build a static website on S3, go ahead and do that. Maybe throw it in GitHub. Maybe put that GitHub on your resume. Maybe while you're studying, you want to play around with a little cloud formation and deploy a 3-tier application. Maybe you want to experiment with serverless technology and build an API using Lambda, API Gateway, and DynamoDB. These are all very well documented projects that you can figure out very easily if you feel like it. And getting that hands-on is going to reinforce what you learn in the certification, and of course, ensure that once you're actually in an interview, that you can answer the questions and not make an ass out of yourself. If you get the cert and you don't build, you might make an ass out of yourself. Not a big deal. We've all made asses out of ourselves, but a good way to avoid that is to build. Finally, you want to start working on your personal brand so that way you are viewed as a competent cloud technologist. Your brand comes down to a few simple things: your resume, your social media, and your content. Resume is self-explanatory. If you need help with that, reach out to me, but there's a lot of great resources out there that are going to help you with that. Social media can be as simple as updating your LinkedIn to include the things that you're studying and focusing on, updating that certification on LinkedIn. But I would encourage you to maybe like post on LinkedIn or Twitter or your preferred social media if that's something that you're up to. It definitely won't hurt, and it's really common for hiring managers to look you up on LinkedIn before an interview. Finally, your content. Content could be anything. It could be a YouTube video like this. It could be TikTok. It could be a blog. It could be your GitHub. But as you're learning and as you're building, if you can create content that helps other people, just putting that out there so that way when somebody Googles your name, they see your GitHub profile or they see your YouTube video, or maybe they click that link to your GitHub on your resume, absolutely helps with the perception of your abilities and your skills. I wish we lived in a world where all you had to do was know what you're talking about, but we live in a world where you need to know what you're talking about and also where you need to convince other people that you know what you're talking about. Working on that personal brand is how you do that. So if you go through these foundations and you spend maybe a year, 6 months getting the certification, starting to build and working on that brand, you're probably going to be ready to start applying to these roles, either hybrid roles or full-time cloud roles, so that you can make that transition. These things don't tend to happen overnight for people. Oftentimes it will take upwards of 1 to 3 years after getting that certification and starting to build your knowledge before you secure that next role. It wasn't an easy journey for me, but I can tell you it's a rewarding journey, and I am happier than ever to go to work every day now that I'm in cloud computing, because I spend a lot less time focusing on undifferentiated heavy lifting, configuring VLANs, troubleshooting laptops, asking users to turn it off and back on again. And I spend more time focusing on building solutions and maintaining solutions for my customers and the place that I work. I hope that this has been helpful information for you. If it was, please let me know in the comments. If you've made this same transition and you have any tips for others that are watching this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I'm also active on LinkedIn. Check me out there. And until next time, take it easy.